What is the purpose of a scene?
The purpose of a scene is to advance the story forward. One of the notes that I keep giving writers is, why do we need this scene if it's not moving your story forward? Sometimes you reveal character and that helps, to move the story forward because we're learning something about their character, but that should be the purpose of every scene. It should move things across. So for example, a type of scene I always tell writers to cut is flashbacks that don't really advance the story. You're just revealing little tidbits, but if it doesn't advance the present of the story, you don't need the flashback. You could just tell me the story, So every scene should serve a purpose. And another way to work around that a little bit is to sort of layer scenes or merge scenes. A lot of writers tend to write different scenes to show different things about characters, but I like to layer them to make them richer and advance the story in a better way. So for example, if you have a character that's being teased at school, and then you have another scene where that character falls in the hallway and, I don't know, all of the paint falls on him, but nobody sees him, then we're not connecting the two. It would be much better if in the same classroom scene when everyone is teasing him, he's getting really nervous, right? Really exasperated. He wants to get out of there. And as he's moving out of the room, he trips. All of the paint falls on him and everyone laughs at him even more. And the scene gets all the more dramatic and it's way worse for the character. Thus, the story moves forward. Right now, they are at the lowest point because everyone saw this. Everyone is making fun of them. So if you can find a way to have each scene move the story forward and also layer them with different things that could be advanced in that story, then you have a better scene.
What are 3 questions about a character every screenwriter should ask when they start a scene?
What the character wants, what the character needs, and what the character is revealing about themselves. I think that all those 3 things are essential. So what they need can be usually, opposed to what they're getting from the other person. And then what they're revealing about themselves by the way they're approaching a scene or the other character or whatever they're doing, right? Good scenes reveal more about your characters in what they say or what they don't say, the way they act or react, So I think that those are 3 things that you should be thinking when you're with a scene, you're seeing these 2 characters. And then what makes it even richer is that the characters oppose each other, right? So what one needs is different than what the other one needs. Then that creates conflict and the scene gets more layered and more interesting. And that's how we continue to move across and continue to evolve in that sense.
When you've given screenwriters notes to cut out a scene, what's their defense usually? What do they say? Well, this is really funny, or I like when she did this. What do they usually say as a resistance to it?
Well, the kill your darling, I think, is where that comes from. Sometimes the scene is great, but it's just not advancing the story. And that happens a lot with flashbacks where I'm like, you don't need all of this. Just let the characters reveal that little by little. And a lot of the times is that attachment of the kill your darling. The scene is good, but you don't need that. And my argument there is give your audience more credit. Sometimes a lot of the writers think, oh, but I need to set this up and explain. No, your audience is smarter than that. You don't need to show them all of those flashbacks. Just keep little tidbits here and there, plant some things, and they will put the pieces together. And that makes audiences connect more. I hate when I'm watching something and I'm being hammered on the head, oh, this is what happened. This is what happened. I like to put the pieces together because that makes me engage with it more. If I'm constantly being told all of the different things, then I'm on my phone, or watching something else. But if I'm being given little clues, then I'm more engaged and I'm trying to put the pieces together. I think that happens a lot with shows like Stranger Things, which do things so beautifully. They're always giving you little things that then by the end you put together. No spoilers that I'm going to give, but season 4 did that brilliantly with a big reveal at the end that where we were seeing the antagonist of the season in a way, but then when we connect all things that happen towards the end, we realize, oh my God, all through the season, they were teasing this big reveal and I never knew that I had to put it together, but I was all the more engaged. And then when I suddenly started putting it together right before the actual reveal happened, I felt so smart. And I was like, this is good television. You know, when you're making me sort of work a little bit, but in a way that keeps me more engaged.
How can a screenwriter ruin a scene?
I think that they can ruin a scene when they don't have a purpose for the scene being there, or when they're just giving you something just to be expository. I think that those are the main things I would say. So either the scene just doesn't need to be there and you need to cut it, and that's really a ruined scene, or you're just giving me so much exposition that I'm bored right away. Exposition is really hard, and I get it. There's a lot of stories where you need to get some points across and you need your audience to understand that. But what you need to do then is find an organic way to deliver all of that exposition. So for example, a fish out of water, right? So you have the new person coming into the office. So it makes sense that you're explaining some of the dynamics. Instead, if you're just not having that and you're explaining who does who in the office, that makes no sense. That's just exposition for the audience, right? So you need to find organic ways of delivering that. That also, for example, connects when you're having a scene between a husband and wife and they're over-explaining things that the other would obviously not know about each other, but you just want to deliver exposition to your audience. That kills a scene, in my opinion, because it just sounds so unnatural. Of course, you know the backstory. The husband and the wife know how they met. You know, they don't need to be explaining. Remember when we were doing this, and remember when we were doing this? Yes, of course, we were both there and we both know. Then again, if you're trying to explain it in a different way that's more interesting, like the kid wants to know the story of how mom and dad met, and you need to share that because that will be important later down in the story, then that's an organic way of them sharing that story, right? Not just repeating what they both obviously know about. Unless they're like fighting over the memories, right? That would be another way of getting over exposition and making that scene better. If the husband remembers it one way and the wife remembers it a different way, then that makes the story more interesting. If they both remember the same thing and they're retelling the story, then that's just boring.
So instead of saying like, yeah, we met at this bakery, we were both ordering tiramisu and he took my order by accident and we were like, wait a minute, I think that's my bag. It would just be like, somebody would say a word like tiramisu or whatever and they both start, yeah, right. So, because they both know what that means.
They both know the story. So yeah, and that makes the characters richer in that sense, and that goes back to the bios that you wrote for the characters. Maybe you wrote the way they met, right? So you know that these characters, if they say the word tiramisu, they both light up because they're remembering something about each other and their story together. And then you need to give, again, the audience more credit. They will put the pieces together if you just know, they know that, oh, that word brings them back to a happy time. You know, you don't need to give us the whole story. Just kind of putting some details there and we'll fill in the blanks.
Sure. Or it could also be a negative. It could be maybe one of them had a bad brother that borrowed money and never paid it back to the family. And so there's a code word that reminds them of that.
Exactly.
You know? So then they start fighting. Yeah.
Yes.
So it can work both ways. So we don't have to say, this is what this is.
Exactly. Just find a way to deliver that exposition in a way that's interesting for the audience to watch, and not that they're watching that scene just to be hammered over the head like, oh, I need to know all of this information for something else. That's just not entertaining.